All my Puerto Rican friends. I'm Spanish. I said, what'd you say, nigga? I don't know about the space program, but I know a nigga when I see him. Don't get it twisted. You speak Spanish. You have Spanish blood, but you are a nigga because of slavery. And some of you are slow. You're thinking, oh, that can't be right. Let me prove it to you. What am I speaking? English. Do I look like Queen Elizabeth? I have English blood in me because of slavery, but I'm a nigga. Don't get this shit twisted. Puerto Ricans, Dominicans, Cubans, ain't nothing but niggas that can swim.
Yesterday, an interesting thing happened to me. I was told I am not black. The kicker for me was that when my friends stated that the island of Puerto Rico was not part of the African diaspora, I wanted to go back to my old school Bronx playground days and yell, "You said what about my mama?" After speaking to several friends, I found out that many Black Americans and Latinos agree with him. The miseducation of the Negro is still in effect. I am so tired of having to prove to others that I am black, that my people are from the motherland, that Puerto Rico, along with Cuba, Panama, and the Dominican Republic, are part of the African diaspora. Do we forget that slave ships dropped off people all over the world, hence the word diaspora? The Atlantic slave trade brought Africans to Puerto Rico in the early 1500s. Some of the first slave rebellions took place on the island of Puerto Rico. Until 1866, Africanos on the island had to carry a libreta to move around the island, much like the passport system in apartheid South Africa. In Puerto Rico, you will find large communities of descendants of the Yoruba, Bambara, Wolof, and Mandingo people. Puerto Rican culture is inherently African. There are hundreds of books that will inform you, but that I do not need to read book after book to legitimize this thesis. All I need to do is go to Puerto Rico and look all around me. All I really have to do is look in the mirror every day. But really, all I have to do is look at the picture of my grandfather. I am often asked what I am, usually by African Americans who are lighter than me and by Latinos who are darker. To answer that question, I say now, I am a Black Boricua, Black Rican, Puerto Riqueña. Almost always I am questioning about why I choose to call myself Black over Latina, Spanish, or Hispanic. Let me break it down. I am not Spanish. Spanish is just another language I speak. I am not Hispanic. My ancestors are not descendants of Spain. And to be honest, I would never claim my rapist. Being Latino is not a cultural identity, but rather a political label that was enforced upon us. Being Puerto Rican is not a racial identity, but rather a cultural or national one. Being Black in America is my racial identity. Why do I have to consistently explain this to those who are so-called conscious? Is it because they might have a problem with their identity? My Blackness is one of the greatest powers I have. We live in a society that devalues Blackness all the time. I will not be devalued as a human being. Although many of us in activist circles are enlightened, many of us have baggage that we must deal with. So many times I am asked why many Boricuas refuse to affirm their Blackness. I attribute this denial to the ever-rampant anti-Black sentiment in America and throughout the world, but I will not use this as an excuse. Often Puerto Ricans who assert our Blackness are not only outcast by Latinos who identify more with their Spanish conqueror than their African ancestor, but we are also shunned by Black Americans who do not see us as them. Neely Fuller, a great Black sociologist, stated, "Until one understands the system of white supremacy, anything and everything else will confuse you. Divide and conquer still applies." So to me, being Black is not just a skin color, nor is it synonymous with African Americans only. To assert who I am is the most liberating and revolutionary thing I can ever do. Richie Perez always reminds me that the internal revolution is the one that's just as important as the outward one. Being a Black Puerto Rican encompasses me racially, ethnically, and most importantly, gives me a homeland to refer to. So as Rakim would say, I am whatever I say I am.
Yes.
So that's my
lot of us have a problem accepting what we are. People want to deny their African heritage because of the negative connotations that come with being black. Some Puerto Ricans and Dominicans seem to think that by acknowledging that they're black, they're saying that they're American or African American. But that comes down to the whole miseducation or lack of education in regards to race, nationality, ethnicity, and culture. Like, the amount of times I've said to a Puerto Rican, even in my own family, you're black. And they say, no, no, I'm Puerto Rican. I'm not American, or I'm not African American. And I'm like, but I didn't say you were American. I didn't say you were African American. You can still be black and Puerto Rican. But it's like by acknowledging you're black, they feel that they're somehow saying they're African American. You're not. You're just saying you're black. You're acknowledging your melanin. But they say, no, no, I'm not black. I'm Puerto Rican or Dominican. All right. That's your nationality. So what's your race? Then they say, I'm Boricua. Again, that's just a Taino word for an inhabitant of the island. What's your race? You get some that'll say, no, 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 not black. We're mixed. We're triracial, black, white, and indigenous Indian, right? But again, so when I say to them, all right, so what's your race? Like, if you had to pick, if you had to choose, what would you choose? Because when you're a mixture of black, white, and indigenous Indian, you're not white. So why do you say you're Spanish? You're not indigenous Indian. And you're not completely black. But what is dominant in your features? And they say, we're Latino? No, that's a culture. A culture that was forced upon you. It's really similar to the North Africans. They say they're Arabic, but they're not really Arabic. They're North Africans who now speak Arabic and have adopted an Arabic culture because of colonization and a religious conquest. But you try and tell them that. Now, the funny thing is, real Arabs from Saudi Arabia, Jordan, Iran, Iraq, they don't even accept them as real Arabs. They even have their own racial slurs for them, which means niggers. I remember speaking to an Arab girl from Saudi Arabia who she was telling, like, we were doing a broadcast. No, was it a broad? No, we were doing a conference call. And she said, no, we don't see them as Arabs. We see them as black. They might be light skin or mixed, but they're black. And she said the word that they called them, it began with T, but it means niggers, right? It's the same way that real Spanish people from Spain don't accept so-called Hispanics. There's so much denial, it's crazy. The denial is even greater from Puerto Ricans and Dominicans who have melanated skin and some African features. But it's really common with a lot of people of color in Spanish-speaking countries in the Caribbean and South America to deny their roots. I don't know if they fear some sort of like awakening or reality by associating themselves with the truth, but it's that slave mentality. It's better to be as close to white than be black. And oh well, if being forced to say that you're mixed or triracial is better than saying you're black, then oh okay, we'll say that because that's got to be better than saying you're black, right? Now, if black people were the ones in a position of power that white people are in today, I wonder how many of these so-called Spanish and Latino people would suddenly be calling themselves black. Too many people like to pick and choose when they're black. Like when it comes to music or dancing, suddenly they affiliate themselves with black people. But they don't want to know other than that, right? Everyone wants to be black, but no one wants to really be black. Excuse my language, but doesn't that make them just part-time Negroes? And this isn't something that's just exclusive to Puerto Ricans and Dominicans. You get this with African Americans because you've got some African Americans that will say, oh, I'm not really black. I mean, I've got an eighth Cherokee Indian in me, so I'm not black, I'm mixed, right? Even black people have a tough enough time acknowledging that they're black. Christopher Columbus didn't discover America. He raped and pillaged a people who welcomed him with open arms. And then he killed them because of them not wanting to assimilate with the white man's religion. Oh, and for those that would gladly claim to be Taino and white, but deny their African roots. So when I say, no, you've got African blood in you, they say, no, there's no African blood in my family. We're Taino and white in my family. I want you to do some research. Because by genetic composition, the Taino people's phenotype resembled that of an African's. Let that sink in. Do you know what might be even scarier to you? There's even a school of thought that the Taino people did not actually travel from India and then across the Alaskan belt and settle into the islands. There's another school of thought that says they came straight out of Africa across the sea and then traveled north until they finally ended up at the very top of North America. Right. Think about that one. Then there's people who always throw that, what about J-Lo? What about Mark Anthony? Well, J-Lo's not white, is she? She doesn't look white. Those curves, that body, her original nose and lips, her original skin complexion, from her early movies like U-Turn. Then they bring up a Puerto Rican who looks white, but fail to realize that person is only a second-generation Puerto Rican. Don't try to debunk something like this by using someone whose grandparents came from Italy or Spain and then moved to Puerto Rico. Let's be real. This does not apply to every Puerto Rican to ever come from Puerto Rico. The ones who it applies to know that it applies to them, and exactly why. Just because you speak Spanish doesn't make you Spanish. The same way, just because you speak English doesn't make you English, right? Denial is a crazy thing. Someone said to me, they said, Angel, do you really know the history of Puerto Rico? And you know what? I'm going to do a video about the history of Puerto Rico. I didn't want to make this video too long. And I'll break it down to you, bit by bit. Dates, numbers, figures, people, and places. Make sure you follow me on Instagram and Twitter at angel_IKYG. If you like the video, make sure to share and definitely don't forget to subscribe. Click that bell so that you always get notifications whenever I post a video and you never miss an update. While you're there, make sure to subscribe to my backup page. Also, check out my website, www.ikyg.com. Check out any projects that I might have going on, coaching sessions, Angel's thoughts, Angel's videos, any events that might be happening. Make sure to utilize the Black Money section of the website. Advertise your business absolutely free to people that look like you, free forever. And also, check out the shop part of the site for any IKYG clothing. If you don't see clothing in your size, don't worry. Just contact us via the site and we'll arrange it just for you. And as always, all the links will be in the description. Peace, love, and coconut oil.